A silhouette appears against a simple backdrop, and that unmistakable voice says, "Good evening." Alfred Hitchcock Presents became more than just a TV show. It was a weekly invitation into the master of suspense's twisted playground of psychological thrills. For 7 spine-tingling years, Hitchcock served up perfectly crafted tales of murder, revenge, and delicious irony. Let me take you through some of the most unforgettable episodes that still haunt viewers decades later. Man from the South stars Steve McQueen in a nerve-wracking game of chance. A mysterious man offers a bet. If McQueen's lighter lights 10 times in a row, he wins a car. If it fails just once, he loses a finger. The tension builds with each flick of the lighter, leaving viewers on the edge of their seats. Lamb to the Slaughter might be the most darkly humorous episode ever created. A devoted wife kills her unfaithful husband with a frozen leg of lamb, then serves the murder weapon to the investigating police officers for dinner. Now that's what I call the perfect crime. In The Glass Eye, we meet a lonely woman who falls in love with a ventriloquist, only to discover a shocking truth that turns her world upside down. While The Right Kind of House teaches us that greed comes with a deadly price tag, One More Mile to Go proves that the simplest stories can be the most terrifying. Following a man trying to dispose of his wife's body, with a broken taillight giving him endless trouble. And Revenge shows how grief and obsession can drive someone to commit terrible acts. Breakdown features Joseph Cotton as a businessman paralyzed in an accident, unable to communicate that he's still alive as he's prepared for burial. If that doesn't give you nightmares, I don't know what will. Perhaps most chilling is Bang, You're Dead, where a child finds a real gun thinking it's a toy. Hitchcock himself considered this one of his most important works, using suspense to deliver a powerful message about gun safety. Each episode opened and closed with Hitchcock's sardonic introductions and conclusions, his dry wit providing the perfect counterpoint to the dark tales he presented. His signature "good evening" and "good night" became as iconic as his silhouette. What made these episodes truly special wasn't just their clever plots or shocking twists. It was Hitchcock's masterful understanding of human nature, our darkest impulses, and our capacity for both good and evil. He didn't just tell stories, he held up a mirror to society, showing us truths about ourselves we might prefer to ignore. Las Vegas, 1960. The neon lights dance across the strip, but inside one of the smoky hotel rooms, a much darker game is about to unfold. This isn't your typical gambling story. This is Man from the South, one of the most chilling episodes ever to grace Alfred Hitchcock Presents. A young, confident American naval cadet, played by the legendary Steve McQueen, is about to learn that sometimes the highest stakes aren't measured in dollars and cents. He encounters a mysterious South American gentleman named Carlos, portrayed brilliantly by Peter Lorre, whose unnerving presence would make anyone's skin crawl. The bet seems simple enough, almost absurdly so. The young man's trusty cigarette lighter against Carlos's gleaming green Cadillac. All he has to do is light it 10 times in a row. Easy money, right? But here's where things take a sinister turn. If the lighter fails even once, Carlos gets to take the young man's left little finger. You can feel the tension in that hotel room, thick as the cigarette smoke hanging in the air. Each flick of the lighter becomes more nerve-wracking than the last. The stakes: a shiny Cadillac against a piece of yourself. It's the kind of wager that makes you question not just the odds, but human nature itself. This episode perfectly embodies everything that made Alfred Hitchcock Presents a masterpiece of television. The psychological tension, the mounting suspense, and that signature dark twist that leaves you questioning your own judgment. It's not just about winning or losing anymore. It's about how far someone will go when pride and possession collide with sanity. And as the master of suspense himself would say, good evening, because in this game, evening might be the last time you have all your fingers to count. Lamb to the Slaughter, a tale that would forever change how we look at domestic crime stories and perhaps make us think twice about what's in our freezer. This masterpiece of psychological suspense tells the story of a devoted housewife who commits an unthinkable act, using the most unlikely of murder weapons, a frozen leg of lamb. What makes this episode particularly fascinating is the brilliant casting of Barbara Bel Geddes, who brings an innocent charm to her role that makes the dark twist all the more shocking. Alongside her, Harold J. Stone delivers a compelling performance that keeps viewers on the edge of their seats. When this episode aired on April 13th, 1958, it left audiences both disturbed and delighted. Exactly the reaction Hitchcock loved to provoke. But here's what really makes this episode special. It perfectly encapsulates everything that made Alfred Hitchcock Presents revolutionary. The show didn't just tell stories, it played with our expectations, turned ordinary objects into instruments of fate, and wrapped it all in Hitchcock's signature dark humor. In fact, this episode became so influential that it's still studied in film schools today as a perfect example of how to subvert audience expectations. A glass eye, a peculiar memento that held my sister Julia's darkest secret. She was completely enchanted by Max Collodi, the brilliant ventriloquist who performed with his little dummy, George. Night after night she'd watch them, mesmerized, writing letter after letter until finally Max agreed to meet. But that night in his dimly lit hotel room everything changed. As Julia reached out to touch Max's face, her dream shattered into a nightmare. His body slumped forward, a glass eye rolling across the carpet, and then George, the supposed dummy, stood up. It was him, the real ventriloquist. Max, her beloved Max, was nothing more than a lifeless puppet all along. Ironic, isn't it? Julia fell in love with the puppet, never suspecting that the true artist was the one she thought was made of wood. Imagine a tale so twisted, it could only come from the mind of Alfred Hitchcock. A man named Waterbury, thinking he's oh so clever, swoops in to buy a house where a murder took place. He's betting on fear driving down the price. Classic opportunist move, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The owner, Sadie, isn't your typical desperate seller. She has a deep personal connection to this house, and behind her calm demeanor lies a chilling secret. As Waterbury smugly confesses to being the original murderer, he doesn't realize he's sealed his own fate. That drink in his hand? Let's just say Sadie had been waiting for this moment, and justice can be served in the most unexpected ways. In the end, it truly was the right kind of house, just not for the reason Waterbury thought. A dark, winding road, and a lone police officer who just won't leave a seemingly innocent driver alone. That's one more mile to go. A masterpiece of suspense that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. What makes this episode so brilliant is how Hitchcock plays with our nerves. Like a cat toying with a mouse, he builds tension with every passing minute. The driver's got a secret in his trunk, and that persistent cop? Well, he's just doing his job, checking a faulty taillight. But oh, if he only knew what was really going on. You know what they say. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And in true Hitchcock style, this journey will have you biting your nails right up until that signature twisted ending. Now that's entertainment. That'll make you think twice about those late-night drives. A young couple, deeply in love, seeking peace in a quiet trailer park. She's fragile, recovering from a breakdown, and he's determined to protect her. But one ordinary evening changes everything. He kisses her goodbye, heads to work, just like any other day. Hours later, he returns home to find his beloved wife, trembling, traumatized, her world shattered by an unspeakable act. A stranger's violence has invaded their sanctuary, leaving behind not just a victim, but a burning question. In a world where such darkness exists, what would you do for the one you love? Sometimes the thirst for justice blurs the line between right and wrong, and revenge becomes more than just a thought. It becomes a necessity. A man who prides himself on his stoic nature, William Caillou, always sneering at those who wear their hearts on their sleeves. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. One fateful night, his car spins out of control, and in an instant his world goes dark. He's conscious but frozen, completely paralyzed, unable to move a single muscle. The worst part? When help arrives, they make a terrible mistake. No pulse, they say, as Caillou screams silently in his mind. They zip him up in a body bag and wheel him straight to the morgue. The irony is almost cruel. The man who never showed emotion is now desperate to express anything at all. Finally, in the cold silence of the morgue, this man who despised emotional displays does the one thing he swore he'd never do. He breaks down and cries out, and in that moment of raw vulnerability, his very survival depends on someone hearing his desperate plea. Bang, you're dead. A truly unforgettable episode that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. A young boy finds his uncle's real gun and mistakes it for a toy. What follows is 30 minutes of pure heart-pounding tension that Hitchcock himself considered one of his finest works. The genius of this episode lies in its simplicity. Something so ordinary turned into a nail-biting experience. The way Hitchcock builds suspense here is just masterful. Every scene makes you want to scream at the screen, but you just can't look away. That's classic Hitchcock for you, taking everyday situations and turning them into pure psychological thriller gold. If you enjoyed this look into one of TV's greatest shows, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more classic television deep dives. Thanks for watching.